So I'm going to talk on how the past shaped our higher education present and future. So hopefully an optimistic look at how our past has been and how that can help us think about what we're doing at the moment and what we're going to do next. I am an academic administrator of relatively long standing. I'm currently on a career break, which is just marvellous. But I've been an academic registrar for a very long time now, and I've done that at 4 different universities. So I stretch back quite a way, and I've been a member of the AUA since the 1990s. It's very important for us as administrators, professional services staff, to understand where our institutions have come from. There's a tendency people come into the sector or join a university straight after studying, and you get the sense that they've been around forever. They look very old. They look like they're very permanent, and they look like they don't change very much. And I think that's a fundamental understanding. And so what I try and do is talk about how we've changed, how that's been a struggle sometimes, and therefore we are institutions that do change, that we do get better, that we do think about things, and therefore that try to counteract a bit of a sense that sometimes there's a golden age in the past where everything was wonderful, and now everything has gone to the dogs. And you can read some writers who talk about higher education as if it's just awful now, and it was definitely better at some point in the past. And what I try and do is explain that sometimes that point in the past might have excluded women from participation in higher education. It might have excluded poor people from participation in higher education. You know, there have been times in the past where we have not been marvellous. Change can be good. We can make our universities better. For professional services staff, there's a real opportunity for us to understand that background. Sometimes we can feel cut out of some kind of conversation. So I think it's important for us to understand that past. Sometimes that can just be useful. If people start talking about things that happened 20, 30 years ago, well before you joined the sector, it's quite handy to know some of that context. It's unlikely they'll ask you about what happened 400 years ago, but sometimes that can also be quite handy to understand that, you know, we have been through some of these struggles, and to understand, particularly with English higher education, how it's been slightly dominated by 2 universities, but actually the amount of change in the sector has always gone on. And even those universities needed reforming at various points. So I think it just helps us to play an important part in those conversations. I think it just helps us to understand the context better. So I'm going to look at some key historical information. So, you know, I will canter through 1,000 years of university history, focusing on English, but also the influences that come in from Scots and European and American higher education, get that sense of how our sector has developed. We'll understand how that change process has happened sometimes. We'll pick a key couple of examples where we've got better by reforming, by thinking about how we want to do things better, so people will get a chance to understand some of that kind of context. We'll tell some jokes along the way. There's some very humorous bits of higher education history. So there's, you know, just some really crap stuff written by people. There's some really dodgy bits of practice that we've done in the past. There'll be some quizzes to make sure that people stay awake, and we'll keep it lively, and there'll be lots of chance for people to ask questions. It'd be handy if people could look at their university history before they come. That could be fun. But understanding where our history has come from, that's what we're going to try and do. Yeah, we will be having an in-person conference for the first time in a couple of years. We've come through some pretty scary stuff. The higher education sector has done that over 1,000 years as well. We can overcome these things. We can make our institutions better, and I think we should go away feeling, you know, optimistic that we've done those things. Some real kind of change examples, how people have changed things that people thought were impossible to change. They can't possibly do that. That would be the end of the world. But people have changed things and moved on, and people coming away with a sense of how that past helps to influence our present and the challenges that come next.